Good afternoon and welcome back to Planetcraft. I'm Natalie and today I have company. I'm going to be doing some work with the Christmas village. So first of all, I have a little helping hand today, don't I dear?
Yeah.
A little surprise! Yay!
Deb says afternoon. No. There you go. We didn't even have to tag you, Deb. It worked.
Just waiting for the chat to sort itself out.
It popped up on there, but it hasn't come across you.
That's weird.
Oh,
Okay.
There you go. Carol says afternoon and welcome in. Yeah.
Yeah, snuck off work, haven't you? Okay. So, I'm going to be using a little globe today. So, something like this, where you've got a bit of a flat base to work on and a little protective dome. So you can get a few different ones, especially at this time of year. So I thought it would be a fun little project for us all to do. So, I also have a couple of little Christmas trees. You have no idea how hard it has been to try and find these Christmas trees that were right under my nose. If they were any closer, I'd have sat on them.
Thea says hello.
Hi there.
Deb says she's sat having lunch, so it's great timing.
Cool. I have some snow. So this one's just like the little crystal flakes. Is that the best way of putting it?
Powder.
Powder. It's more powdery. It's not quite flaky. I have some cotton wool in case I use that, and I do have some little pom-pom trim that I can use for some snowballs if I want to. But we'll see how it goes. And I have die cut, thanks to my mum and dad, a load of pieces of Christmas Village. So these are dies from Sizzix. So it's not the new release. This is from last year, and they build the little houses. So you'll see what we've got is we've got our basic houses, and into that we can choose which windows we're going to push through. We have roof pieces, so we have several different sizes of those. So I'm just going to start sorting these out. And then there are some little tiny ones that we can fix. So in your die set you have 3 different sizes of houses. So we have kind of our small, our medium and our large. And I'm thinking it's a bit dark. Do you want to put a big light on? I don't know if it's coming across a bit dark on screen, but it's a bit dark for me. So let's put those there. So we have those, and there's our houses. Now if I grab the dies, which are just down here I believe, in my little collection, you can see what I mean about how we do these. So here's our big house dies, and then we have these little panels that we can slot in. So first of all you need to decide what kind of scene you want to build. So you can make it into a church if you want to, and use our little almost church-like Gothic doorway window. You could do a little house, and each of these have just a score line on this edge here, so you can actually have them so the doors actually work. Or you can have it like a block of flats, which is also cool. So I think I'm going to go for this one. Now these larger dies work on either the medium or the large, depending on what you want to do. So I think just for the size of my project, so I'm going to measure everything against this base. If we put the large one in on this, it's going to be a bit too big. So I'm going to step down to the medium. So you're measuring it from this edge here to the score line there. Okay. And for each house you need 2. Okay. So there's our 2 pieces. So we're going to go for that one. Now, combined with that, Thank you.
Okay.
Combined with that, I'm going to put a little tower on the side. So again, we can decide whether we want to put in our little windows, or we've got this little roof piece just here, so that we can put a little window into the roof of our tower. Let's go with that one, like so. So what I'm going to do is just use a bit of masking tape to actually stick these together, and then we can run them through our die cutting machine. Hello, Mum.
I think that was his way to Suze as well.
I know, but I spoiled today. So I'll just detack my masking tape just a little, because this is going across the front of our house and we don't want it to ruin the front. In actual fact, I think I might use a bit of t-shirt just because. And let's line that up. And I'm just going to take that onto the front there. Okay. And let's do the same on here. Now, you could be brave and try and go through both layers at once, but I think for this one, I'm not going to bother. I'm just literally going to do one window each, like so. So, very carefully peel that off. I'm just going to tuck that around there. So, with those two, we want to put that onto our die cutting sandwich. Now, while I'm here, there are also some little dies, and when you get this set, you may think, what on earth are those for? Because they don't really make a lot of sense. And they're actually to add little archways over doorways and things like that. There's also two little round windows that you can actually pop in to the top if you want to. So I'm going to die cut a couple of those, so that we can stick those on as well. And let's go for a slightly different colour this time. And I'm just going to use some of my offcuts. So let's use a bit brown. There we go. That will do. And I'm not even going to be particularly fancy about the material I'm using, so I'm just going to use the bit that's got the text on. Because by the time that it's been through, it's going to have lost a bit of that texture anyway.
Linda says afternoon and Trace says hoping.
Hello! There we go. I'm just going to stick those on there. And again, a bit more masking tape for those. Now with this one, it doesn't matter as much about detacking it. And let's get my sandwich. And by that, I don't mean let's get me lunch. So, I've switched my Gemini sandwich over to the same one that Jennifer McGuire recommends, which is the 2 clear plates and the 2 double-sided plates. So, I'm going to pop that down on my desk. Well used, as you can see. And I'm just going to space these out. So when you're using more than one die in your machine at a time, do make sure that they're not going to accidentally move over one another. Now this could be interesting. Ian, could you do this one with me? Just fits on there. Okay. There you go. So, with each of your pieces, you'll see that you have little glue tabs. And if it helps, you can reinforce those using a scoring tool. Just they are a little bit fiddly, aren't they? Just a tad. So, let's go with these pieces out. And very carefully just peel this one off the front. And same with this one. I do find it easier to try and pull it across the cut edge rather than the torn edge. Get it on. And you can save your pieces if you want to. Let's pop that back in there just so I don't lose my pieces, because there's nothing worse than losing a die. Especially with the way I've been searching for things this morning. And let's do these two next. So the one's already popped out, so I can just pop that back in my holder. There you go, there's the other one. So we have our little roof pieces. So now what we need to bear in mind is what we want to do in terms of texture. So these are quite small and dinky, so they don't take a lot to decorate. So I think I'm just going to do a tiny bit of ink blending just to give the effect of the edges. But before I do that, I'm just going to fold my pieces. So if it helps, grab your bone folder and just crease that edge down so that you've got a nice crisp fold. And we're going to do that for all our little narrow glue tabs, and they are narrow, so just take your time and you'll get there. So once you get them more or less where you want to, just give them a little crease with your bone folder and then straighten them back up, ready for sticking down. And we're going to do the same with this top one. There's another one just here for the other side of the roof. There we go. And we'll crease that one again too. And there we go, we have our first side. So now you need to repeat that with your other side too. So let's grab this one and let's do these little glue tabs first, because these are a little bit more of a pain. Okay. So is Sandra watching?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, don't know. She's not come up this one. She hasn't said hello, she's... Like watching on YouTube. Then.
Yeah. Okay. So there's our other piece. So now we want to do our tower, and we're going to do those the same way. So again, along the glue tab. Now these are quite funky because of the size of them, in that you can do lots of different projects with them. So while today I'm going to be making this so that it can stay in its fixed 3D form, I'm going to show you another project another day where we can actually have it so it's going to fold flat on the front of the card. And we're nearly there. Come on, Mr. Glue Tab. Play ball. There we go. So this is a thin knit dye, which means that it's good for things like your cardstock up to about 580. But you can, if you go back in the archives, get a slightly larger original Sizzix die. So with the foam and the steel wool, and that means you can go a bit thicker. Okay, there we go. So we've got our two halves, and finally let's grab our little roofs. Now these just have one score line down the middle, nice and easy. Don't try and fold them too far. And again, there you go. So those are fun to glue because there are no glue tabs, as you will notice. So what you end up doing is actually using something like your Sticks to 3D PVA, something that's a bit thicker, or you can use a hot glue stick, but it's a little bit fiddly for that kind of size, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So try and stick to your thicker PVA or your gel mediums. Okay, so while we're on the subject of glue, it's really tempting with this project to go, okay, so now I do double-sided along all these glue tabs. And for instant stick, yep, that's brilliant, but it doesn't tend to hold in the long run. So you do tend to be better off just using some wet glue so that you can actually let it set into the square. And I would love to say, and here's one I made earlier, but not likely. Because it's too busy looking for Christmas trees. Okay, I'm just going to apply a little bit of the Sticks to 3D PVA on that one. Then flip this half over, and I'm going to do the same again along this edge here. Come on, a little bit more. You know at some point it's going to go. Come on. Okay.
Andrew says she agrees with that, that the double-sided doesn't hold together very well.
No, it doesn't in the long run, unfortunately. Particularly on these, because they are so tiny. So tiny. So I'm just going to offer this up and then adjust it where I need to. And then we can kind of hold it in place while it sets for a second. one done. While that's setting, let's move on to this one. I'm going to do the same again. So, my poor glue is struggling to not clog at the moment. It's time for a refill and a good clean out. Let's get the other one and do the same again. But I do enjoy putting these together. So there's lots of techniques you can do with these. So hopefully I can get this to set fairly quickly so that I can get on with inking them. Because sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it's easier to ink in the 3D form. So like I just want to catch the edges on this so that it gets a bit of a shading to it. But if you want to do things like stamping or stenciling, then obviously you would do that before you do this step. Okay. And on we go. Let's get that one on there. And let's get this one behaving like so. And we can press and hold that for a minute. And if anything slips, just adjust and try press and hold it again for a bit. Okay. So these don't have any bases to them. So if you want to put some lights up inside, you can do. If you have a tea light, you can actually build up your design so that it just pops over the actual flame of your tea light. It's not quite big enough to fit the whole thing inside. But you want to have the flatter kind rather than the kind that look like a candle. Okay. So, while there's a setting a moment, I'm just going to grab my tidy tray. And I want just one of the larger roofs and one of the little roofs. There we go. I'm going to use some, let's go frayed burlap. So this is quite a neutral brown. Means we've got that yellow undertone, so you're going to let the what's underneath actually pop through. I'm going to use a smaller brush. And let's just tap a bit out on the side. Let's go down this edge here. Cool, blimey, that's a bit better than I expected. And let's go along this edge. So I'm not wanting to cover the whole thing because otherwise there'd be no point cutting it out of the colour if you're going to just cover it a different colour. So we are going to put some snow on this too. To avoid it. And this is definitely one of those die sets that isn't just for Christmas. If you want to do sort of a wedding scene, you could do that. Okay, so there's one piece. Let's get the next piece. I'm just going to use what's still on here just because it was so good. A little bit too juicy. There we go. And that's more like I was thinking. So you're just getting a bit of a hint of shading. Like so. Okay. Now you can use the same colour onto your actual building. So I'm just going to go fairly lightly just using what's on the mat up that edge. Now it's easier to do it at this stage before we put the roof on, because the roofs do overhang slightly, so they can get in your way. And always put some down at the bottom edge too, because that's going to help ground it. Okay, a little bit more. Next side. So I'm using inks rather than oxides to do this bit, because if you use oxides and then try and stick the two together, you can sometimes find that the oxide won't allow you to stick, especially if you want to use things like double-sided. They just don't like it. Okay, a bit more down the bottom. And a bit more this side. Okay, next one. Very quiet up there today.
Rachel says hello. Just as you said.
Just as I said that. Hi Rachel. We're a bit later today. Mainly because I had a bit of a last minute change in what I was going to do. Change of plan. So with something like this where you've got an all-round window, you want to make sure that you do all the sides. Now obviously if you're going to be working onto something like a tag, which I'm going to show you how to do in a later stream, then you would just do the bits that you can see again, so that you make sure that the stuff is going to adhere properly, because there's nothing worse than things falling off after you've made them. Okay, let's move those pieces out there so I don't get confused. It doesn't take a lot. And let's move my messy mat over there until I get to clean it off. So with our little house now, it should be pretty much set and we're ready to add our roof. So with these two little side tabs, we're going to lift up so they're at the same angle as this roof front here. And we're going to apply glue to these sections on here. Now take your roof and we're going to give it a bend and just crease it down the middle. Then I'm going to put one side down on the desk and use that side to kind of line up where I'm going with my house. Will you get this perfect first time? Probably not. But you just want to work so that you get those tabs at a nice even space, so that it looks like you have a nice even amount around your roof. I'm just going to give that a little push into the corner like so. And let's turn around and work on to the next one. Just get that in there. And there. And let's do that top tab. It's a bit hard for you to see, but if I do it that way, you should be able to see that you've got all your tabs kind of supporting that roof. Whoop, don't juggle. There we go. So there's one done. Now let's do this one. And we can work out where we want to put this. How the two are going to attach together. So again, just going to pull that little glue tab back up a little bit. So it sits on that same plane. Okay. And this one's going to be a little bit more tricky being smaller. But I'm just going to press, and then we can adjust the walls once it's starting to set a little. There we go. So we have our tower. So now we can decide where we want to put that, so it's going to sit like that. If you want to have it sitting to one side, if you want to pop it onto an end. And it all depends also on the space that you have in your little container. So if we bring this little plaque back in, let's put that there. And then we can start to use that for a little spacing guide.
Gareth, it's just a quick thought, a quick math thought in your hand that day. Has anyone tried to scan the dies into the machine so you could hopefully cut out more than one at a time?
I couldn't possibly say, Carol. What I would say is statistics would probably not like you to do that. But there again, if it's for you and for your own use, then how would they know? But as with all dies with the scan and cut, just be aware that, you know, a lot of companies say that you can't or shouldn't. There are some that are definite no-nos that will never give you permission to mark for Sundays. Others might give it on a one-off basis if there's a particular reason why you would prefer to. I'm just wondering whether to just pop a little bit of 3D foam on that actually, just to help that sit in there just a little bit better. Fill that gap. Let's take that off there for a sec. Okay. So I'm going to grab a thin strip of 3D foam. And to do that, let's use one of these. So, this 3D foam that I use is available from Amazon. And I'm going to use the little in-between pieces because these are perfect sizes for little. I'm just going to peel off one side and I'm going to lie this down the back of the shorter of the two houses because you don't want it sticking out the top. And just trim that at the bottom, and that should be just enough to get it past that roof line. And if need be, you can always cover this edge up with snow so that you don't see it. And I'm going to go that way round, I think. Like that. So that it's all on one level. Looking good. And then we can pop a little bit of snow into our base. So next we can put some little trees. So if there's something where you haven't necessarily done all the detail you could do, you can pop your trees in there. So that one's slightly bigger, so I think I'm going to put that one around the back, and we can pop one in the front too, like so. So plan your layout, and then we can work out what we need to do in the base. So first of all, if you're going to go for a snowy scene, you can use a little bit of gesso. So let's grab a little paintbrush and a little pot of gesso. And this is just going to be a base for anywhere where we don't manage to catch it with the snow or anything else that we put in. Now I'm just going to go around the inside, so try not to get any in the track, as obviously your globe fits into that, so you want to try and keep that clear. Same when we start to apply the glue for the snow, you're going to want to keep that pretty clear. Okay, so maybe just a little bit more. So with our gesso, less is more, because it will dry quicker that way. It's just there just to take that brownness off the base. So our snow's going to look whiter. Okay, there's our gesso. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to grab my glue, and I'm just going to just do a very slight amount on this edge. So it is the slightest, tiniest edge that you're gluing, so just bear that in mind. So it's not going to hold a lot, but it's going to hold it there enough that you can decorate around it. Like so, and pop that down, just get that in the right place. I just want to try and make sure that it gets within those guides. If you have to readjust the building just slightly, there we go. I think I'm happy with that just there. So let's press that down. Okay. Next, you can use a combination of texture paste to build this up if you want to, or you can go for a little bit of cotton wool. So I just want to build up a little bit of a ridge, and then we can decorate over the top of our snow, but rather than building lots of layers of snow. So first of all, I'm going to work into this corner here, And I'm just going to apply some glue along this edge here. Pour glue, come on. It is not wanting to come out today. Not much left in there now. So a bit more. I'm going to pop one little bit in there and one little bit in there, and like so. Now where you've got bits that are overhanging, I'm going to take a bit more glue and we can actually wrap that around the corner. So a bit more in there.
Yes, so she has to go, but she'll catch the rest later.
Okay.
Until she says she's back, she had to go to bed.
Oh dear. Was I sending you to sleep? There we go. So I'm just going to stick that down there. So we have a little bit of snow. Now, before you stick on your tree, which might be the tempting next thing to do you any snow that you need to do first and stick a tree last. So, I'm going to come in the section here and I'm going to do the same again. So, let's declog. Again. The pin's going to glue to my finger now instead. Come on. He's not wanting to come out today. There's my other bottle in there and didn't notice earlier.
No. What have you done with
See that? I tidy up and I managed to lose it.
that?
It's tidying up with Larky is a dangerous thing. So let's pop that in there. Hey, thank you. Where is that? Okay.
Oh, it's doing up there.
And a bit more in there. There we go. Let's just tap that in there. I'll just push that down there a little bit. Okay. So far so good. So now is the time to get a bit snowy. So this is where you're going to want to put snow on your roofs. So I'm just going to do a wiggle.
I'll give a bit of paper to come to me.
Yes, please. Or the tidy tray. Tidy tray might be a better option. Okay, and a bit down this side.
Tell you treat that by you. A little bit under your desk still.
It's in there, I think. A bit all along this top edge and down this side. So you have something that looks like that. Then also do any areas that you just need to cover up. So in here, I'm going to go down there. Like so. Thank you. I'm going to pop a little bit along this area here. So wherever you've got like a bit of a gap, we can just add a bit more. I'm also going to put a little bit on my cotton wool as well as off of it, so that we get some snow. And we can do the same just in here, so that we've got a bit in there, and also around this section here, and come on. There we go. Along that bottom edge and along here so that we've got a bit of snow in there. Now this is where those of a glitter nervous disposition might want to look away.
Don't sneeze.
Don't sneeze, yeah, definitely don't sneeze. You might want to move my drink as well. So, I'm just going to sprinkle this over the top. And take a little bit more and go along those bits that I know are a bit more vertical. And there. A little bit more on the snowy bits on top.
What happens if we tip it up and the house falls off?
Don't tip it up that far. Be gentle. Very gentle. Don't try and flick it.
Joseph, could you add the houses into the snow bucket to make it less messy? So like you're dipping the houses into the bucket of snow rather than...
Yeah, you probably could, yeah, and do it that way. I'm just going to get a clean dry brush and let's get in this track, because all that snow that goes in your track needs to come back out. So we can just get that out with a brush. Otherwise your little lid won't fit on, so it's kind of a necessity. And it's best to do that before your glue dries as well, otherwise you may find that a bit has accidentally gone in your track and you can't get it back out. There we go. Oh, we're getting there slowly. So mine's quite a tight fitting lid. If you find that you have one that's a bit looser, you can actually use that as a way of making sure that it stays sealed. And with what's left, we can use our tidy tray to put that back in. So I don't mind if my snow goes back in my pot with little bits of glue and things, because all that does is give texture to the next project that you do. So if you end up with a few clumps, won't hurt. And even an occasional bit of glitter, who knows. This is my tidy tray after all, it tends to get a bit of everything. And there we go. Let's pop our lid on that, because it's the one thing you don't want to go on the floor. And we can stick in our two little trees. So I'm going to put the bigger one to the back. A little bit of glue. Use the other one. There we go. And we can stick that in there. And then we have our other little tree, which may or may not go in the front. So just bear in mind what and where that actual globe section is going to come. And I think I can just about squeeze it in, but some of my little branches might be a bit squished. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to pop that in there. There we go. So now we've got our little archways, and I'm just going to apply just a little glue over that edge, like so. And very carefully going to line that up over there. And let's sort out my tree. My tree's falling off because it's strong. Naughty tree. There we go. Stay put. And next one I'm going to put at the back here. Huh? I was going to tap off the excess a little on that one. I went a bit OTT. And you can still put a little bit more stem on that if you need to, just to cover up those joins. And we've got very naughty Christmas trees today. There we go. So I have got some pom-pom trim that I can use to either snip bits of the pom-poms off to do snowmen and things like that. But I think for today the trees are misbehaving enough. So there we go, just so I can show you there. Come on, stay put. It's going to get hot glued in a minute, isn't it? We'll see. So, get that way. There we go. Go on. Stop juggling. Ian, I'm having a... Come on, get in. Right. There we go. Oh, a little bit of a push. There we go.
Wait a second, need some people to move in.
There we go. Let's see if I can get this into its track. So I might have to give it a little bit of a...
Carlos, I feel like we're making people Tracy.
Okay. So there's my little scene. Ta-da! One more. There.
That's it.
There we go. And from the back. Oh, me little one off the back's coming down off a little bit. Oh well. I will try and sort that out in a bit. But there you go. That is the idea. And then we can also do things like the vinyl from yesterday, which is why I did the vinyl first, so that you can actually put in a little sentiment across the top if you wish, or if you want to do a little decorative border around the bottom. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and we will be, well, I will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, I won't be here tomorrow.
I'll be back to 11.
Yeah.
So take care for now. And have fun.